Chapter 16, Viva la Vida. Hifumi quickly tied Gyuzafin up with a rope and had him loaded into the carriage. Then he asked the remaining soldiers to call the person in charge. Gyuzafin was thrown in front Orga and Kasha. Orga, this is the shithead that stole the noble's personal property. What kind of punishment will he receive? According to the laws of Orson Grande, an arm is expected to be cut off. Although the harm done to us by the incident with the noble is much worse, his punishment must still be within legal limits. As Kasha's words took over Orga's, Gyuzafin's face turned pale. He looked toward Hifumi for respite. "Ple, please forgive me. I was only ordered to." "Really, what were the instructions given and who gave them that is?" Gyuzafin couldn't answer. Even if he is not killed by Hifumi, if he gave out the official's name, it will be only a matter of time before he is killed by the accomplice. "You cannot say?" "Then please wait. I will say it. I'm gonna say it." Speaking honestly might have delayed his disappearance, but not speaking would be certain death. In that case, since it couldn't be helped, Gyuzafin begged for his life with a tear-streaked and disheveled face. Seeing this pathetic figure, Orga and Kasha were somewhat disgusted. Being deceived by such a miserable person. Really. Even the desire to kill has dissipated. While saying that, the soldier from before ran out of town. Immediately behind him were a group of about 15 people. Since all of them wore armor similar to Gyuzafin's, they were probably soldiers of the town. Seeing them run in their direction, Hifumi instantly noticed something and started running towards the group. Behind. Hearing Hifumi's yell, the soldier turned around, and before he knew it, the backup force behind him had drawn their swords. What?" Inadvertently halting, the soldier muttered upon seeing his colleagues face someone, not Gyuzafin, but him. No, it wasn't his imagination. The eyes of the lead soldier were clearly on him. The lead soldier raised his sword, clearly aiming for him. Dodge it, you fool." Hifumi pushed away the soldier that was about to be cut, by a hair's breadth. Lashing out at the lead soldier with a frontal kick, while dodging the swung blade. However, the lead soldier only stumbled a step back and didn't fall down. "Nu, stop your resistance. You thieves." The lead soldier intimidates him and the soldiers surround Hifumi in a line with their swords drawn. Several people appear to be heading towards Kasha and Orga. "This piece of shit thief seems to be from your place. Is your head boiled?" Hifumi drew his slender katana, and with knit brows, as if spitting out his words. "So you're their boss. I knew you couldn't discipline them, but I guess it can't be helped if the one disciplining them is trash, right? Whether they heard Hifumi's provocation or not, the lead soldier steadies his sword again and says to his subordinates. "This man is a noble who swindles. For him to frame an attempt to kill us is foolish. Arrest him on the spot." Purposely ignoring it, he yelled out loud so that the surrounding commoners can hear what he's saying. Hifumi thought that this is an explanation. Using, "that's how it is," to dispose of inconveniences. It seems this isn't his first offense and he's quite used to it. When it comes to it, Hifumi had only one choice. "Understood. It seems talking to you is a waste of time. Come, I'm gonna kill you all together. Don't underestimate me, youngster. Die." Once again the lead soldier raised his sword and slashed diagonally from the shoulder, but during the downward slash, a sword struck his left eye. The blade then swept through his brain, and the soldier's long life ended quickly. "Orga, Kasha. Kill them as I have taught you, do it with all your might." Hifumi didn't see if both of the girls reacted to his voice. Judging that Hifumi was more dangerous than the two women. Besides the lead soldier, the other 10 soldiers surrounded him. Seeing that the lead soldier was dead, unrest ran through the soldiers, but comprehending that not getting rid of Hifumi would be dangerous, they immediately recovered and rushed at him. Kasha and Orga have no practice in combat with multiple opponents. There are too many people to start teaching them now. Although he was thinking that in an easygoing way, Hifumi's movements were quick. Before the soldiers' attacks arrived, he quickly turned around and swapped places with a suitable person behind him. Gua. Crammed into the place where Hifumi was before, many blades arced, voices were raised in anguish, and the man died. Meanwhile, moving further, a soldier's head was lopped off, and Hifumi stored his katana. A kusarigama was taken out. The chain bound two people together at the neck, pulled them back, and then threw them to the ground. You could hear the muffled sound of a neck breaking. The two of them died together, the chain was untied without confirming their deaths, and the blade of the sickle cut into a nearby person's neck. The blood spray was avoided to deal with another opponent. A sword was thrust, but the chain wrapped around it and pulled, snatching it away. The sickle was driven through the opening on the side of the armor, slicing the stomach open with all his might. The soldier was stunned while staring at his own intestines messily flowing out, and died before he became fully aware of it. Half of them left. No resistance at all. You all aren't even worth killing if you don't persevere a little bit more. Hifumi bragged, stating that he was disappointed, all while slashing at another oncoming person. A swipe at the soldier's leg and the soldier would easily fall, then gently slash the carotid artery with the sickle. The remaining soldiers were killed brutally. Hifumi, surrounded by dead bodies, turned his focus toward Origa and Kasha. Those two each have an opponent, but had already defeated them. Origa prevented them from approaching by hurting them with shurikens, and when their movements became dull, she chanted wind magic to cut their heads off. The accuracy of her magic is rising, and the sharpness seemed to have increased as well. Conversely, Kasha was fighting with her two swords nearby. She repeatedly attacks the upper body with the right sword, and when the opponent blocks her attack, she will suddenly stab the opponent's thigh with her left sword, causing the opponent to stop on his tracks. Then she will deal the killing blow by slicing through the throat. Great, you did well. Hifumi was looking around while praising them quickly. The townspeople who were there from the beginning were afraid of being caught up in the fighting. None of them dared to run. Only Hifumi and the gang survived, with Gyuzafan still tied down and the man who called the group of soldiers. The battle was confirmed to be over. The soldier who was unsteadily trying to stand up asked Hifumi for his name and introduced himself as Tamuzu. What the hell happened here? In front of the dumbfounded Tamuzu, objects that appeared to be people were scattered all over the place, and the smell of blood permeated the air from the town entrance. You still don't know, even though you were watching from a special seat? Gyuzafan is a fool who rummages through travelers' luggages. The ones felled here are your colleges, including your boss. Whether he can't admit it or the shock was too big to think of anything, Tamuzu could only remain silent. Hifumi decided to leave it alone because it didn't matter. He stood in front of Gyuzafan, who was terrified from seeing his accomplices completely annihilated. You, don't you? What's going to happen because of your actions? What's going to happen? Are the numbers going to double? Is a stronger guy going to appear? Or are going to say some famous guy is going to appear? Without waiting for Gyuzafan to answer, Hifumi kept rattled on. There's too many people like you on their high horses, thinking they are great. Look at those corpses. Can you tell who's your colleague, your boss? Which flesh is your friend's? Which internal organ is your boss? If a human being is cut, their insides spill out and they die. Kings, knights, and thugs, it's all the same. The one listening to Hifumi's words is not only Gyuzafan. Origa and Kasha were also seriously listening. It's the same for you and me. The foundation for every human is the same. The only difference is their appearance, to distinguish them, what they think, and what they do. You guys only thought about doing bad things and were hostile to me. That was all. Ignoring Gyuzafan, who was lost for words, Hifumi turned around to face Origa. Understand that these guys are organized when committing the crime. Whether that asshole from before is the mastermind or just the lackey, We will know when we hear it. Therefore, Hifumi kicked Gyuzafin towards the two slaves. If I were in your position, I would kill this guy. Nothing will happen even if you kill him. Even the mastermind thought they are nothing, and would execute this guy. Therefore just kill him. This is revenge in the first place, as Hifumi said. And then, staring intently at Origa and Kasha one by one, he told them to make their own decisions. Kasha was hesitant. Her way of speaking was coarse and rough, completely opposite to her graceful appearance, and unlike her master Hifumi, she was a girl who could not stay calm after injuring good people. If attacked by an opponent with weapons, one would naturally kill, since it is impossible to survive without doing so. Even so, just for being an enemy, killing an enemy, especially one who is not resisting. Just for the sake of revenge, as a person, is it right to kill? While Kasha was kneading around this question in her head, Origa calmly stood up. Kill him, Origa said clearly. Kasha, pulling back now, I have a feeling that we will regret it. We had a hard time in the past. Kill him, if not, someone else will. After all, if Master hadn't taken us at that time, how would we be able to take revenge with our own hands? Though this time, Master arranged it, smiled Origa wryly. That is so, Kasha's head cleared. We will bring down our enemies. Pulling out a single sword, Kasha smiled at Origa. Master, if it's all right, may I borrow Master's katana? No magic. Realizing that Origa wanted to kill with her own hands, Hifumi loosened his sword in the sheath, and pointed it towards Origa, hilt first. Smoothly, the blade was drawn, light reflecting off its beautiful curve. The atmosphere changed. The fact that it was a tool to deprive life was forgotten. Reverently receiving the sword, Origa stood awkwardly clasping the katana next to Kasha, looking down at Gyuzafin rolling underfoot. Please sto, I believed it was wrong. But after all, it was an order. Shut up, Origa said in a cold voice. Kasha's mouth was drawn tensely. Think of death as salvation. The life of despair that we felt, savoring fear every day for the agony that is to come. What kind of humiliation would we receive, the anxiousness of how we would die? It's better than living with our minds crushed by the gruesome picture of our future, even if we don't want to think about it. Because if it were possible to die, then that would be the end of it. Origa looked at the close friend next to her who finished speaking. Kasha only nodded once, and at the same time Origa thrust Gi too. Gyuzafin only grit his teeth without even releasing any sound from the pain. He didn't die immediately. Their sword damaged Gyuzafin's femoral artery, an enormous amount of blood flowed out. A little reprieve was given before he died. I'll watch the way you die. Look at our faces while you die in regret. We regretted a lot during that time. To have been cheated by you. Therefore this time, you must regret a lot during that time. The two of them watched Gyuzafin's corpse emotionlessly. Hifumi was silently watching, overlooking them fondly. It's like looking at a beautiful, benevolent, and profound Holy Mother, but the comparison was silly. Gyuzafin died while muttering that he didn't want to die. For Origa and Kasha, it was their first taste of revenge. Origa and Kasha didn't say anything while Hifumi led them to the dining room. The time to eat was just approaching, but they did not leave, as Origa and Kasha seemed as though they did not want to move. They were afraid to enter, since they might be refused entry, but after proving that they were working for the kingdom, they were reluctantly let in. After showing the medal of nobility, of course. This is bad. While saying so, he gave the shop employee a huge amount of money and told them to bring suitable dishes. How long are you going to be engrossed? You should wake up any time now. I'm deeply sorry. To bask yourselves in a little sentimentality is okay, but Origa remembered that they were slaves and got flustered, while Kasha pouted her lips in dissatisfaction. Hifumi thought they were strong women. Having experienced quite a bit of shock, there seemed to be no problem. Don't be satisfied with defeating that one person who is at most a piece of shit underling. After this, isn't there more people to kill and places to go? To kill with reason, huh? There should be a suspicious high-ranking dipshit behind this. It was bad luck that you had experienced a painful mistake, but you had to do it again. Therefore, erasing the hostile guy at the top should be done without regret. After that, you'll feel better, said Hifumi. In front of these three, a succession of dishes were lined up one by one. Though somewhat larger portions and strangely luxurious, it was because the shopkeeper knew Hifumi was a noble and worked harder at preparing the dishes. In contrast to Origa and Kasha, who didn't have an appetite and were reservedly eating the tender pork sautéed-style steak and the fresh and crunchy salad, Hifumi simply gulped down his meal and announced his plans. After eating, I will go to Viscount Hagendi's estate and say hello. Upon hearing the plan, only Kasha's ears did not detect the declaration of a new massacre.